It is Tuesday, December 30th, 2025. My name is Mike. I am at 15 Iowa on Instagram. We're just going to start like that, Joe. We're just going to start like that, Joe. Oh, yeah,
I
we,
didn't
we
know. I didn't know if you were gonna be like, and I'm joined with
Oh, no, I was just
my.
going to go. I mean, I
It's
can
all good.
go. Okay.
Oh no, I'll just okay. I got
And
it.
I am joined with the
No,
presence of
no,
da, da,
you're
da,
good.
da.
You just run that back, and I
No,
can
I
chime
think we just go. I think this is it. I think you just got to say your name now.
in.
I think you just got to say your name now.
My name is Joe at JP3 Cards on the Hobby Socials.
Hobby social is crazy. Anyway, welcome to this. Whatever this is, I I think if I mean I think that was honestly like you can't get any better than that intro. I think the idea with us recording yet another podcast, not only just a podcast, but also a podcast about trading cards, but also a podcast about the hobby of trading cards. Um, it's like, oh, another one, great. I love it because I know that's how I feel as far as like podcasts. Like everybody and their dog has a podcast these days. So I think the idea with this is it's more of a like I know I'm gonna say like, oh, it's just a conversation and like that's everything. But when it comes to like trading cards and it comes to like cards and like sports memorabilia and everything like that, the hobby is kind of like seen differently by me and seen differently by Joe. I go in and out of caring about cards and everything like a lot of times, like a roller coaster ride, if you will, like daily. And Joe, on the other hand, he's like, he's deep into everything going on. And I am not deep into everything going on. So I think the idea is more of like, Joe knows what's going on. I want him to tell me what's going on, and I want to record this conversation and the future conversations and be able to 6 months down the line, a year down the line, getting ready for the national, kind of like go back and be like, what was I thinking December 30th, 2025? Like, what was my mindset of how I was feeling? Was I in? Was I out? That kind of thing is what I've been doing forever as far as like YouTube videos and stuff like that. Like, I did that, I mean, since 2009, and it just got to me the past couple of years of like, I am not doing this for an audience. I'm not doing this to like gain views. Obviously, that's like great and that comes with it, but I'm at the point now where I just want to document my stuff and my doings. And that's kind of where I'm at. And Joe, I don't know how you feel about that, but to me, like, I think we have a lot of good conversations outside, of recording it. We've never recorded it before. I don't think I've ever done anything as far as like videos or anything like that with you other than just, national vlog. But stuff like that is like, we look back on those national vlogs like 2019 all the time. And I think that's what I want with this.
Yeah, I think you raise a point about like it's a good it's good documentation, right? Like there's so many times over just a calendar year where your mindset shifts. It's different whether you're like deep in the hobby weeds or you're a little bit more on the casual side. Things ebb and flow, interests ebb and flow. And I think it's interesting to kind of have a pinpoint of like what your mindset was at a given time and going back and reflecting on that might help you make informed decisions later or just recalibrate all of your thoughts because I know for me you know things do change. You look at how my collections evolved over time and year to year it changes and I think I'm pretty consistent, but when you really kind of dial back and look, at what causes some of these things, whether it's seasonality or whatever your interest may be at the time, I know I'll definitely be looking forward to looking back on, some of these discussions that you and I have on a regular basis, but being able to record them and go back and kind of see like where everything was at a particular point in time.
And that's honestly why. Well, I don't remember why we came up with the name State of the Hobby. And I will say this, if anybody's using that name, like we can make it just Joe and Mike's State of the Hobby, but it's more so just like a meme to me. And I think that's going to be kind of the tone of this podcast is very very memey, very like like joke side of things, because like that's where I kind of like see, it kind of like puts you in that comfort zone a little bit. So like, I mean, as far as like the logo goes, I mean, like I love the rated rookie. I've said multiple times that like anything I said bad about Tops, I will take back if Michael Rubin saves the rated rookie anyway. But like the logo is kind of like a mix of mine and Joe's. I would say, I would argue, like our like favorite teams as far as like the Kansas Jayhawks and the Michigan. I don't remember the I don't remember the name of your.
Oh my God.
Is it Wolverines?
It is.
Okay, I was gonna say that, I just didn't, because you said go blue, and so in my head I'm like, okay, go anyway. So there's like a hint of both, and it's kind of a mesh of the both, and that's where I think this is going to be like a fun recording and a fun thing to listen back to, of just like how we're both feeling on that day. And hey, there might be a time where like Joe is like going down and I'm going up, and like it just depends on what's going on at the time, and what point of the year we are. And honestly, like it comes down to like how close we are to the national, because I mean, like this year's national, I feel like it was probably like the weirdest one for me. Um, and I've only been to a couple, but just going into it being like, hey, I want to sell stuff was never like a mindset the past couple times. And I had stuff coming up to like look forward to. So like I was more so looking forward to hanging out with people that I don't normally get to hang out with. And that was kind of like, the main thing for me, seeing my friends, and, making some money with cards that like I enjoy. But up to this point, I've never wanted to sell anything because, I just don't like selling things. And, it finally hit me of like, I would much rather, go to Toronto for a couple days to, go to a bunch of concerts. And I was looking at like the Pokemon cards that I had, or, the wrestling cards that I had, and just being like, this is a plane ticket. Like that was my mindset. And that's why the National this year was so weird, because like I sold everything in the first like half an hour. And then I was like, all right, I'm just hanging out with you guys now. You know what I mean? Like I think like seeing how like Joe and like a few of our other friends kind of attacked the National was more fun to me than like finding cards for myself.
Yeah, I mean, for those who don't know, we're both Mike and I, big wrestling fans, and I've always viewed the National as WrestleMania of cards. It lines up in terms of like how a WrestleMania I feel lines up, where like you have this like kind of slow burn throughout the year, and then it starts to really like ramp up in the wrestling world. It's called the Road to WrestleMania. Like there's definitely a kind of a road to the national that takes place, as the summer starts and then progresses on. And each year, it can have its own kind of flavor depending on like where you're at, what the market conditions are. This one was definitely, unique. Um, as you mentioned, I think because, for a lot of reasons, a lot of different reasons, like it, not to get too technical or into the market and everything, but this year was like This past one was a definitely. I mean, you could go to every national and sell and do really well because everything's just so in demand. Almost everything is in demand. But this year in particular, it felt like there was just some stuff like because of where the market was, you couldn't. It just didn't make sense to buy. And I think we've all probably made national purchases that I don't know if regret is exactly the right word, but like you wouldn't do it again. Like you don't regret doing it, but you wouldn't make that same decision.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as far as like yeah, like you opened the door to kind of like this selling. Josh, some of our other friends at Calder Card Collector, shout out at Motor City Marks, Sean, like a lot of us went there and cleaned up selling, myself included. um won't get into like the whole entire details of all of that, but I think, yeah, to your point, it can be fun just to walk around and kind of take care of business, and then the rest of the week is just kind of gravy, and you can make of it what you want, and it kind of relieves the pressure of like what you came there to do. I always try to get everything done on like Wednesday, and I'm sure we'll eventually in this podcast we'll touch more on the national, but yeah, well, to your point, you kind of took care of everything you wanted to in a half hour, and then it was kind of like, I mean, I think you even left part of a bulk of one day and came back just because you afforded yourself the ability to do that.
I'm just going through Instagram, and I don't think I posted a picture of like anything that I bought. And now I'm
From this
going through
past
like
year.
my yeah, like I didn't do like a dedicated post just to one card or like a couple cards, which is crazy because like I'm going through like my phone pictures, and like there was like a couple things, but there wasn't like a lot of hey I need to post this. I think I was posting like the story a lot. Um, but yeah, I think that's just telling of what my kind of like feeling was for this year, and honestly just in general outside of the national, as far as cards go, where it's just like I will kind of find something that I like, but that doesn't mean I want to buy it, and depending on like price point and everything, but at the same time I don't necessarily have a lot to look for anymore. um like there was one major card earlier this year that I'm not going to say what it is. And I realize this is crazy. Joe knows what it is, but I'm not going to say what it is because, and it's not even that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, but it is to me. And ever since I purchased this card, I don't remember if it was like May or June or July or whatever, but ever since that card, I think to me I kind of have completed everything. like there's nothing else I need to look for that I want. And that was kind of like that checked a major box, and that's where I was like, okay, now everything after this is just extra. And so that's kind of how I like my year went as far as listen, you got the one you were looking for. Everything else is just icing on the cake, and that really kind of like when you're walking around at a show and you're already looking for stuff that either doesn't exist in like at the show, or just it's just hard to find because no one's pulled it yet. Like you just wander around, you see other stuff, maybe you see something that's like, oh okay, I kind of want that, but like I don't really want to spend XYZ amount on it. So I think, I don't know, that's just the mentality I had even in other shows, and just like even going on eBay or whatever. It's like I don't need to look out for this card anymore because I have it. It's on my shelf. Like I look at it every day. It's got one of those fancy gimmick slab mags around it. Like that's the one. And I don't think I've ever had that before. So it was always like, oh, I'm going to look for the same, players or the same, WNBA, like, rookies or whatever. Like, it was just, I felt like I was done. I wrapped up like what I was looking for, and now it's just the epilogue. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. In collecting, I think most of us, whether we realize it or not, they call it like your North Star. And, you know, in today's world, no, even so you have your North Star, and then but there's so many other things that may distract you. And that's just cards alone, like other cards, other categories of cards. But then, you start to get into just so many things outside of cards too that can, either, create like an opportunity cost as far as like achieving like what it is that you're going for. Um, just things of that nature as far as like, actually being able to obtain your whatever it is that you're looking for. I know I know for me personally, and not to keep going back to the national, but again, I do feel like it's such a solid reference point. Like one of the over time, I used to feel like this. I used to feel like this held true. Um, Not so much anymore the last few years. They used to say like at the national, like, oh, if you can't find it at the national, it probably means that it didn't exist. Like that was like a popular hobby kind of catchphrase when referencing the national to kind of help promote like the
How big it
experience that
is.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, which it is, I mean, it is the Mecca, don't get me wrong, but there's something with like this ultra modern period combined with just like the corporate um, presence, for lack of a better phrase, that the national brings now to where uh, it doesn't feel as like much of a treasure hunt as it once did. It just kind of feels like, hey, I'm going here to conduct, for me personally, I'm, gonna conduct some business as far as like, hey, transacting is buying, selling, trading. And then kind of like for me, it's become way more about like the people like within our friend group, and then maybe you meet some new people and things like that. But no, I totally get what you're saying as far as like having a card that you're after, but then like I kind of said, we things there's so many things and so many opportunities that can pull us in different directions. But I really do try, and I have a card I won't mention either, not that it's like any crazy secret or whatever, but uh yeah, I do have something that I'd like to pursue, and kind of the art, and I'm sure we'll talk about maybe these journeys as we go, but the art of kind of like paring down. And I feel like that's been like a huge theme, especially like collectors, right? Like people who have had cards, and eventually, like for me, always like people will ask me like, "Oh, like you're selling this card? Like I thought that's who you collected." But for me, it is more so sometimes even cards that I cherish, they'll cross a certain threshold of worth. Whereas, like, okay, I'd rather at that point have the money. Maybe we
Mm-hmm.
can explore that when the market cools down and I can buy back in. Or I'm just comfortable letting it go and pursuing another angle of my collecting journey.
Yeah, that's like I said, that's kind of was the main theme of this year, where it's like you look at it and you're like, that's a concert ticket, that's a plane ticket, that's a computer or something. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah,
a payment on a car. Like it's just you look at it like that. And not to like go back, but I do want to say like the reason I'm not going to mention the card that I just talked about is because I want to take a specific picture and I need to go to that place to take the picture, and I'm not gonna post it until I take that picture. So there's no reason of like, oh, it's like secretive or whatever. It's just like a selfish like, if I'm gonna post this online, and like I want it to be, it kind of like goes with the podcast. I want it to be like a momentous thing of like, I'm here. have this card, boom. But no, going back, it's just the I don't know. I just think it's just you know what I mean.
Yeah,
You know what I mean.
for you, it's like, and I like how you equate it, and we've had this discussion over the year about like what, when you really boil it down, as much as you and I love cards, and there's no questioning that we do, we love them. We love the hobby. We love collecting. We love, we even there's probably some guilty pleasure in some of the drama that takes place. Not that we're a part of it, but just kind of, you know,
The hobby tea,
insert
good old fashioned
the
hobby tea.
hobby. Yeah, and we're just kind of like the popcorn gif or gif, if you will, in the back, just the guy at the movie theater just chowing down on some popcorn while, everything's just kind of unfolding in front of you. And so like going back, like you talk about, stuff outside of the hobby, right? And I think we can all relate to that. We probably all have sold something. And I will say a lot of like my hobby doings, like the hobby money stays hobby money. Not that I don't take money out or allocate it elsewhere, but it is, again, I want to emphasize we both love cards, but when sometimes you are able to sell a card and you realize what experiences you can achieve or pay for and be minus that card, especially when the market's hot and you've done super well on it, you really can't lose. And, not to get like sentimental or anything like that, but like we, as much as I value cards, like I think it's, personally, I value also experience. And so there's only a finite amount of time. And so if you can take something that you don't feel as connected to as you once did, whether it's just because you've lost interest or maybe because, again, that card reached a value threshold where you value the money that it's worth more than what the cardboard itself means to you in monetary or personal attachment, then, I don't think it's ever a bad move to kind of part, especially when you've done well. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we love these cardboard pictures of men and women or cartoon figures or whatever. But at the end of the day, they are just that. And I don't think you'll probably hear that on too many card podcasts. Like, we'll keep it as real as possible.
Dang, it's as real as it gets. The when you were saying that, I was thinking of like you kind of tie in, like if you can create a moment behind a card. Like I always think about whenever someone I know or a friend of mine or whatever is like talking about like a player they collect. Like for instance, like Sean Motor City Marks with like Marina Mabry. Or like, Josh Calder Card Collector, like with like a few of like the people that he collects, or like, you with Michigan people, like I see so much of it and like we talk about it so much and like I'll look out for like, that player, and it gets to the point where I try to get like a rookie auto or a nice rookie card, or like just if I see a card that's like looks cool and it's of that player, normally I wouldn't buy it, but because it's like of a PC that like my friend collects and I feel like I'm just as invested as it, like, in it as like as they are in some aspects, like I like having a card like that because it does tie to a moment, and creating that like meaning behind it is also like a big thing where it's like, oh, the number is 14, that's the date of this, that, and the other, where it's like it wouldn't really matter because it's just like, oh, it's not like a jersey number or whatever, but like this wacky thing that I have connected to it, and kind of one of my big things for the year to give me a reason to like look for stuff at card shows and then branch out from there was the random PC that I did with the Barstool Sports, the Yak show that they have. They have the Yak Gauntlet, and they have a bunch of like famous people and athletes and stuff doing like the Yak Gauntlet every so often. And I thought, well, what better way to kind of tie in two things that I like than to try to get an auto, preferably a rookie auto, of like every, at least one of every single player or athlete or person that has cards, and put it all in a binder. And, you can kind of go through this thing. And that's kind of what I do now, where it's like I go through like this binder and I see like a Nick Foles rookie auto or like an RG3 rookie auto or, like Cameron Grimes, the WWE like wrestler who doesn't work there anymore. He's Trevor Lee now. Like just random people that I wouldn't normally know or look out for or collect or buy or anything, and being able to just like give it a meaning and put it all together into one thing, because there's no other reason for, like a random tennis player that I can't think of the name of him, to be tied with, just random athletes, like Christian Yelich. Like when is Christian Yelich and, I forgot who the NASCAR guy that they had on is, but like it's literally just like those things where it makes me remember these people's names, and then it gives me something to look forward to and like see if I can find, because like I like going against the grain on things, and that's kind of my, I'm just gonna go find some random player from the Marlins because like, hey, why not, right? And that just went totally completely off what we were saying, but I was just kind of thinking about like what I was doing this year, and that was like a big one.
Yeah, and I mean you said something just there that kind of like made me think, and I don't know if it was conscious or just kind of unconscious, but like a little background. Um, so your PCs are a little bit more, I would say, obscure. Would that be fair?
Oh yeah, big time.
So when, for example, right? So like you're, um, you're it's not as obscure. It's not obscure at all anymore. But like just an example, like WNBA, like even 4 years ago, like if you go back to like the 2021 national, that was like the national of all nationals. Like nobody was really like going super crazy yet. I think that was like maybe the debut WNBA Prism set was out, but nobody was going like bananas like they have been, with like the Caitlin Clark and everything like that, right? So I was wondering, you know, because we've never actually talked about it from like a philosophical standpoint, like, do you think that your pursuit or your idea of, going down like the bar stool path, how much of that was because like you might have came to that organically eventually regardless of like what market conditions were, but how much of that do you think it was due to the rise in popularity, price, demand, hype of one of your main PCs prior to going down this rabbit hole?
I mean, yeah, that's it's probably like the biggest factor. And I mean, you could kind of go back to like WWE becoming popular when it went to Panini,
Yeah.
and like once that became like more popular and everyone was like freaking out about like whatever like big Rock or Undertaker cards or John Cena or like the rookies or whatever. Once that became popular, that's when I'm like, all right, like time to leave. And then kind of the same thing like we were saying with WNBA, where the 2023 Prism and Origins sets, like I was buying those hobby boxes for like dirt cheap at the time, like early in like 2024. And then now you look at like what the next year is, and because like I have one specific person I collect, but then I do like to just have a bunch of random players. Like I like the chance to see like what you're gonna get. Is it gonna be like a big card of a random player? Like you know what I mean? So I think once that got taken away and there was nowhere left to turn, you kind of have to make your own thing, and that's kind of like, to answer your question, that's kind of what I had to do, to kind of keep myself invested. And because I was going to go to these shows anyway, right? Like in my head, I I don't remember the last show that I went to that wasn't a specific reason of I'm going to see this person or going to hang out with this person. Like it literally just, it's probably tied back to that since either early last year or like late 2023. Because that's just, there's always been like someone is driving from this place or flying in from this place, or it's the national, so everyone's coming, or oh, I gotta go meet this person to pick up XYZ thing. So like there's always a reason tied to it. So if I'm gonna be there anyway, I might as well see what I could find and how does it like kind of shuffle into what I want to collect, because 9 times out of 10 the WNBA stuff that I'm looking for isn't going to be in someone's showcase. It's not going to be next to Caitlin Clark and Caitlin Clark. It's going to be, in a dollar bin that someone just, threw to the side. So I think that's kind of where I kind of had to like pivot and be like, all right, I need something. So yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. I kind of figured, and it's one of those things too, right? Where like, you know, I find myself kind of zagging. I went through kind of like a larger PC overhaul this past year, which came to a head at the national, really, where I was able to. The other good thing about the national too, right, is if like you have like a lot of stuff to move and you're kind of suspect on mailing
shipping.
and
Yeah.
all that kind of, yeah, exactly, that kind of stuff. There's no better place than the national, probably because the person that you might be in talks with or whatever, there's a decent chance that either they or someone that they know are going to be there that can then kind of close the deal. But yeah, it's funny. So you mentioned like, kind of the rise in popularity of WWE, and we talk about like interests and kind of like, you shared like your barstool journey with, the PC that you got going on with that, and how now I'm kind of almost like coming full circle where like 90% of my pickups this year were actually like wrestling, which kind of goes back to like it's refreshing in a way, because it's something that I have like super super like deep passion about, especially the people that I collect. And I was starting to kind of get bored. Like for those who don't know, like huge Michigan football fan, still have like a decent Michigan football PC, big Tom Brady guy, etc. Right? But and I love, like, I think one of like the probably the best thing arguably to come from like this new kind of like Tops era, is like the bump and use stuff. I think everybody, whether you're a collegiate collector, a prospector, a flipper, like there's a place in that product for everybody. Um, the thing for me is, while I do enjoy it and appreciate it, it got kind of overwhelming, tiring, and time consuming to chase everything that I wanted to have, and I just kind of have this like I gotta have it all or I can't do anything kind of mentality, for better or worse. And so I've kind of shifted from that. Was able to move a lot of my PC at the past national to a fellow collector. So a lot of my good cards went to a really good home. And what that has done as it has freed up a lot of time and energy and then resources too, right? I'm not having to constantly check eBay, seeing if the same like three or four people that like we really compete for stuff, if we're all like duking it out. Like my screen time for like eBay was like out of control. Like it was probably unhealthy. So kind of made the decision to pivot. And then, again, that took me kind of back to wrestling. It kind of culminated with I'm still kind of buzzing like off of just the surreal moment of seeing my all-time favorite wrestler, even though this has almost been a year now, get inducted into the Hall of Fame. That's kind of a fun story of, I was going to go to WrestleMania. Mike and I, we booked these hotels like 6, 7, 8 months in advance. I think I still remember that.
Maybe
It
even a
might have been
year.
like, yeah, it was something crazy. I just remember like a random night we're just like checking out the link, which fun times, like just pinning these hotel rooms down, and then I was out, and then they said Triple H is going into the Hall of Fame, and I was in, and then I was out, and then I was in. I was just like, yeah, literally like 2 days before, I was like, I can't miss this. I'm going. And so, anyways, not to go too much down that whole thing, but those are fun times. I'll always remember that, and I'm glad I went on that last minute trip, met up with you briefly there. And then, but what that's done is it's like reinvigorated my passion for collecting in this space, specifically Triple H, but then also some other, like John Cena went to his last, match. We got to see his last WrestleMania. You went to his last show in Chicago. It's a lot of cool moments. And when you tie in, like, it just makes a lot of sense. Like, you tie in moments that mean something and talk about like, I was thinking about this, right? So, obviously how passionate I am about, like, the 2023 Michigan national champion football team. I'm always been a Tom Brady guy. But what's crazy to me is like I can let go of a lot of those cards, mainly a lot of the Brady ones, like the one-on-ones are just so unattainable, that I uh, I can transact and deal within Brady cards, knowing that most of the time it's a blessing and a curse because like I can always replace like a Brady rookie. It's just going to be like, okay, what's the price point going to be, or what's the cost to like hang on to it
Hmm.
versus being able to put money into something else. But now, like you talk, like now I have like some of these like Triple H cards, and they're not the most expensive cards in the world by any means, but like there are some that I'm like so attached to, like the one that I took to the Hall of Fame, and I can never sell that card. Like took the picture at the hotel where the Hall of Fame took place.
Yeah.
Like and just like that's like a core awesome memory. So be careful, whatever PC card you got coming in, and when you take the picture, taking the picture is like that almost creates like a whole new level of attachment. Two of the Michigan cards I kept that will not be going anywhere. Like I'll probably pass those down before I sell them. Would be like the two that I took to the Rose Bowl when Michigan beat Alabama on the way to the 2023 national championship. Like
Mm.
there's something about like taking cards to, and not everybody does it, not everybody feels comfortable, which I totally get. But be cautious because if you, I have always hated the term like coffin card. Like I think that's crazy. Like if you get buried with a card, like why wouldn't you pass it on? Whatever. But like if there is ever um, if you're ever like, I guess what I'm trying to say is be prepared to keep a card forever if it's with you in a peak moment and
Yeah,
you take
like
a
you got the
picture with
memory.
you with it there. Yeah,
No, I
exactly.
I I think I mean like this card. I mean, so I tried to look it up. Um, July 5th is when it was delivered to my house. So since July, I've had this, and I look at it every day. It sits on my shelf, and I just don't want to post it until I can take it to a place and take a picture of it, and it's not going to be posted online until then. Again, it's not that big of a deal,
Little
and
little little teaser for the people.
yeah,
Is it
it's
is the location within your home state?
no, it's not.
Okay.
So I don't know when I'm gonna make it because my car is there. But I yeah, it's gonna take a road trip one day, and it's gonna be, you know, I'm gonna take that thing all over the place and just take a bunch of
It'll be
pictures,
epic.
random places. Like, oh, remember this memory? Bam, take a picture. Remember this? Bam, take a picture.
I highly
Um,
recommend that because like when I took the Triple H 2020 Topps Chrome Superfractor to Vegas, I kept it in my pocket like the entire evening of the Hall of Fame and well, afternoon and then evening because I didn't know like what's going to be the like obviously you have ideas of like exactly how you like where you'd want it to be, but like my favorite picture actually didn't even come from within the auditorium or the music hall or whatever that venue is called
venue.
within the hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, the my favorite picture actually is like on the casino floor, and they just happen to have like the big WWE like Hall of Fame kind of
Like poster.
advertisement thing. Yeah, and I was like, no, this is way cooler. So you just never know, and I recommend for anybody that's big during like the peak like COVID days, there used to be a hashtag called like cards at stadiums, and I used to click on that for fun, and it'd be cool seeing everybody like bringing their cards to stadiums and stuff like that.
I mean, I think. I don't know if I'm gonna bring them like to sporting events, right? Um, or like wrestling shows or concerts or like that. Like to me, that's just I just want to go into that event and like enjoy the event. I don't want to have to worry about a PSA 10, PSA 8, PSA 9, BGS 10, like whatever in my pocket, and have to explain that to security. But exploring with it, like that, like just taking pictures of it in different places, I'm all for that. Outdoors, uh, at like museums or like just like that, and I think honestly, that's kind of like looking ahead to like next year. That's kind of the one of the things along with like this podcast of like how do I capture the moment and be able to remember it and do it for me. And if other people see it, like if I post something or if we upload this or whatever, like if other people see it, great. But it's more so for me to like look back on because I think the one thing that I find myself doing a lot is I'll scroll through like my Instagram or I'll scroll through like the photos on my phone a lot more than I will take out my Zion case or take out my, white shoebox like gimmicks and like go through the cards that way. And I realize that's crazy, but I just have so many boxes and I don't know where some of these cards are. So sometimes it's just like I have the few that are sitting out all the time, but then there's some that I just forget that I have. And that's always a fun game too of like, oh, forgot I owned that one. And now there's like cards that like I've sold that are still, I still have pictures of, and it's like, oh wow, like forgot about that one, or oh wow, like that's crazy. I owned that before. So it's stuff like that that I really want to kind of go forward with and looking towards, I mean, the big thing is like the national. I think that's kind of like an end point, not an end point, but like a checkpoint in my head of like, all right, if we're still doing this by the national, what can I do to kind of, capture the moment and remember this? And I have an idea. I just kind of need to like set it up for it. But I think it's more so just seeing everybody's like how everybody works as far as like how everybody acts and how everybody kind of like gets into the festivities, if you will, of like being at the national, being at a card show, just like the thought process behind like, oh, like Joe, I was with you when you sold all those Michigan cards at the National, and like, being a part of that and seeing that happen, like to me that's like a memory I'll never forget of like very big cards in their own category being sold to like another big collector of that stuff. And like those moments are something that I really want to kind of like let happen next year, but also just kind of be a part of more. And if I pay $10 to get into a card show, I don't care that I didn't buy anything. I care if I experienced something, as far as that sort of thing. You know what I mean? So like, I guess from your perspective, is there anything you're looking forward to or like kind of planning on doing in this next coming year?
Yeah, I'm gonna start out 2026 with a bang. I haven't really talked about a little bit about it, but I've been pretty not, like kind of almost don't want to jinx myself because it's been a little bit different. But I am traveling to Dallas in a couple weeks, and the Dallas Card Show will be going on, and I'm hoping to meet somebody there who lives in the area, and I'll probably just leave it at that. And hopefully, I can report back with some good news. So I don't want to say too much more again because I'm a little superstitious about how this might play out. But
So
if
are you traveling to Dallas for a reason and the card show is happening and this thing might be happening, or are you going for the card show and you're hoping this thing happens? Because if you're just going for like a specific, like if you're going for like work or something and like,
so
oh, it just happens to be the same weekend as the Dallas card show, like, okay, great,
so that's a great question, and my wife has been kind of in the know about this, and she kind of asked the same thing. So so here so here's the deal, right? Like I'm trying to convince myself that I won't be upset if this doesn't happen, but I know that I will be. However, it can be salvaged because the show is happening and we can get in and out.
Okay. So
So I think that answers the question.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
the 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 non-show thing is the main thing, but
okay,
it
but it
can be
happens.
easily salvaged if I'm trying to. It's almost like trying to like it's like when you're speaking something into existence to try to convince yourself that it's true.
Yeah,
That's kind of what's happening in Lifetime right now.
but
I don't want to
reality,
say I'm not going to be upset, but I'll probably be a little bit upset regardless.
in
But let's just
reality, this is a card
fingers
trip.
crossed.
Like in your
Oh,
head.
it's a car trip regardless.
Yeah, but I'm saying like in your head, it's a trip to the Dallas
But
card show.
there's yeah.
Yeah, no, I
So
know how that goes.
hopefully, fingers crossed. Um, I'm kind of I've yeah, we'll just
Leave
what,
it at
this will be a
that.
fun. Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
leave it at that. We're gonna leave it at that, and if it'll be a fun story. And honestly, like not to like
this is
I
January.
don't yeah, so the
Okay,
Dallas card show in January. So it's
okay,
January I want to say 17th. Does
okay.
that
So
sound right?
if we're still doing this podcast
In 3 weeks.
in 3 weeks, this will be a cliffhanger that I will then come back to and be like, "That's what you were talking about," or "Hey, whatever happened to that?" I'll forget about this in like a day,
I
but luckily it's recording. At least I think it's recording. But other than that, like, is there anything like a recap of this year, looking towards next year, like just how this podcast is gonna go, like thoughts for the podcast, or just anything in general that
Yeah. For those who listened just this far, if there are any of you out there, just want to say thank you. This was just kind of like a rough intro, as he kind of said, as Mike said in the beginning. I think that over time there'll be like a little bit more structure, but we also just kind of want to keep it loose because it is truly just conversations that, as we said in the beginning, it's just conversations that we have that are very organic and kind of can go down different paths, and we might get back to the main road and we might not. So as far as things that I'm looking forward to or recapping, I hit on Dallas in a few weeks. Um, Always looking forward to the national. That's like I said, that's WrestleMania, and we'll hopefully take you guys on our road to our hobby WrestleMania.
But this
And
this
then
road is 7.5 months long. It's just
yeah,
the
it
longest
is.
road. We just
It is.
we take a
It
shot every
is.
time we say the national
But
and a given
yeah,
recording.
exactly. I mean, the national could honestly be its
Series.
own subject,
Yeah.
but its own subjects, and then yeah, to your point, series. But like everything just comes back to like there probably won't be an episode where the national doesn't get mentioned. If anyone catches one where
True.
the phrase "the national" doesn't get uttered, um, I'd be shocked.
We'll
But
just edit in like the national and then
the national,
yeah. No,
or just
but
or we'll have to get a countdown going like 207 days until the national or whatever it might
you
be.
know what? The next time we record, I will look up to see how many days are left, and the intro will be it is today's date, and we're X amount of days away from the national. What day is the national? Like July 30th.
Uh,
Let's see,
I think it's the Wednesday would be the 26th.
the 26th of July.
Yeah.
We're
So
208 days away from the
did I
national.
did I say 207 just randomly?
I don't.
So
You
I was
may
off by a
have.
day.
You
I
were
may. Well,
close.
we recorded. We'll have to hit the
Yeah,
replay.
that's fine. But no, I'm excited for this. I I'm excited for the future shows that are basically just going to be Joe being like, "Hey, did you hear what happened with this?" And I'm like, "Wait, what?" And then I like get a genuine reaction in some cases, and that's I think that's how it's going to be going forward because I am, and we'll talk about it in the next one, but I'm I'm not out, but I'm out, and then like the beginning of the O, if that's like
Yeah,
a
like
meter.
you're
I'm out.
yeah,
Oh, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, and right now, like a little bit, like this is kind of almost a fitting time for kind of an intro, like a debut pod, right? Because this time of year, it's the holidays, like things are relatively quiet, but like you're gonna see, like you always, like, for those who don't, like the hobby, you can almost like if you look at a graph year to year, no matter if the market's up, down, whatever, like January and February are among the hottest months of the entire hobby calendar. And then it starts, so after January, February, it'll cool back down up until the national. A few months prior, it'll start to ramp back up. National is usually a peak time.
it's also a
And then,
peak time for me not caring whatsoever, and just brushing it off and being like, oh, like talk to me in July or
yeah,
June. It's
yeah, like
yeah,
that's next month's problem.
exactly.
No, I know.
Future me
Yeah.
problem, but
So, yeah, so I mean, just it's interesting, right? Like, to kind of wrap things up, I think the market is in a really interesting place. We are in the I mean, we're full on now, like the hobby, the main sports, it's Tops slash Fanatics, the Panini era, for again the football, baseball's always been Tops, licensed, but football and basketball going back to top since the first time since 2015 for football and geez, however long for basketball, 2009, 08, 09, something like that.
I don't know
Yeah,
if you're looking for
it's
me. I don't know.
no, and no, it's yeah, it's really the end of an era as far as that goes, and that's controversial in and of itself. I think everyone has their own theories as far as like what's going to happen, um, and we'll probably be
Talk about the
discussing those
next one.
along the way.
Yeah. But yeah, that sounds good to me. That I think that'll be a heavy topic of discussion in the next time we talk. So yeah, that's I think that's it. I think that's gonna be it for the first one. Um, don't really know how to end this. Uh, just thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.